Welcome to the Media Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadebonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
Kenton, we were just chatting before we started, and I told you to save it for the podcast when you brought up Mission Impossible. The Final Reckoning, is that the name of it?
I'm not even sure.
It's so hilarious because I realized I looked up the last one. The last one was called Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And at some point, they decided not to just call the final one Dead Reckoning Part 2 and just called it The Final Reckoning. So we're never going to get Part 2 of Dead Reckoning, but this really was Part 2. I saw it, Kenton. The point I'm trying to make is I saw it. I went to the
new one?
I did, yes.
Wow.
Despite my vow to not see Tom Cruise movies, I played right into his hands and I saw it. It was actually Jack's choice, my son Jack. We were just kind of going for a nice kind of movie night, Tuesday night. Although I went with my mom and my son. It's kind of like this kind of family night out. And my mom said, let's go for Tuesday cheap night. I'm not sure it was Tuesday cheap night. I'm not sure what the deal is on Tuesdays. And I didn't take the time to look it up before this podcast, but I thought there was some kind of deal where you got free popcorn with your admission. We did not get that. We had to pay for our popcorn separately. The tickets didn't seem that cheap. They were like $13 each. So because it was AVX, that's the gimmick, right? They always have to have a gimmick.
What's AVX?
I'm not sure where the deal was on Tuesday, but because it was Tuesday, it was busier than usual, though still about a third full, that theater. So this is the first Tuesday after it comes out, right? It came out last weekend, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Big blockbuster movie came out last weekend. The theater's half full. And so that was, and I mean, it's not a good movie in my opinion. But I thought a lot of people want to make excuses for it. Every time I bring that up, they're like,
sure.
That's what you expect in a Mission Impossible movie. I'm like, you expect quality. You expect originality in some way. This film is like 5 other action movies packed into one. They pull so specifically from The Hunt for Red October, from The Abyss, from insert your World War I biplane fight scene anywhere. Like that the scene is spectacular. The one you've of course already seen because you've seen the trailer for this, or you've seen an ad for this movie, which shows him on a biplane, hanging onto a biplane. That is like the big, showpiece scene at the end. But the whole time I'm sitting there going, he's strapped into that thing. There's no danger here. I know he's strapped in because they showed us a video of him being strapped into it. And I know all the behind the scenes stuff. They completely ruined the illusion of that by showing it to us ahead of time. But that's the only way to get people to go, apparently. But people didn't go. Is that what you said? It didn't do well in the theater?
I think it's doing okay, but I mean, I saw the last film, the Part 1, and I kind of enjoyed Part 1. But that was him with the motorcycle going off the cliff. You always need him, the actor, to be doing something to make people go. But I think Part 1 was not a hit. I think Part 1 surprised them by not doing as well as they thought it would, and hence dropping of the Part 2 from the beginning. I think that's why that went away. And I saw this week that it was second to Lilo and Stitch, so it cannot beat Lilo and Stitch, which is a bit of the second week.
All I've heard about that movie is that, I hear that one's bad. Like multiple people, when I bring up Lilo and Stitch, I heard that one's bad. So how does that beat Mission Impossible in its second weekend at the box office? That's pretty crazy.
I think we're finally at the spot where people are just content to wait until this stuff shows up on streaming.
Well, but hold on here. Look at this. I think these guys just are so greedy. They don't know how to define this anymore. It says here, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, gross domestic. And I know they look at so much international stuff right now, but I've always thought in terms of domestic box office for the U.S.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's kind of that gives you kind of a gauge for the rest of it. It kind of
U.S. and Canada are always together.
Together? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they do also sometimes break out the Canadian numbers. I've seen those are so small they don't feel very relevant in the whole thing.
So only Mr. Bean, which was only playing in Canada and not the U.S., has ever made the top 10 only in Canada. That's the only film I think that's ever achieved that.
It's funny. It's usually like $3 million is a good weekend at the Canadian box office. But this says,
oh my God,
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is grossed, and this is obviously almost 2 weeks out now, $131 million, which would be pretty good if they didn't spend $300 million in it. That's the problem here.
Yeah,
they're in the wrong place. Remember when the first big box office movie? One of the first really big ones was the first Spider-Man film with Tobey Maguire. Remember that? It came out in like late '90s, early 2000s. That got 90 million in one weekend. That was considered amazing. Now that's not considered to be good. If you can't break 100 million, you're considered not a success in the box office because you spent so much money on your movie, you have to make it back. And because the diminishing returns, like no, if you think it didn't beat Lilo and Stitch this weekend, it's not going to beat whatever's going to come out next weekend, right? It's just like they've kind of segregated these things. Like if you don't make it on your weekend, then it's just going to keep going down and down. I don't know. I don't think we're going to go see this one. It didn't seem like something that I couldn't just watch at home, honestly.
Right.
Don't.
Think about Star Wars though. At 100 million, it was a huge hit, but the price of tickets was like $3.
True. That's the big. We can go on to think about the theater another episode, but
so if we're now grossing 100 million, but the price of admission is $30, that shows you how far the audience has dropped.
oh, absolutely. Now, I forgot to tell you about the best part, Kenton. Before the movie began, we received a personal message from Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know about this. Yeah.
He pops up again. It's after all the logos, after everything, just for the opening. Yeah, it's like just before the opening shot of the movie. Wait up. Hi, I'm Tom Cruise. I want to thank you for coming out to see this movie in the theater as it was meant to be seen. We made this for you.
Oh.
I just laughed the entire time.
And one more time, I'd like to tell you how the controls on your TV work. Remember when he did that?
No, what was that? What are you talking about?
Yeah, he had a thing where people were saying his movie looked shitty when they watched it on TV.
Yes, that's right.
And he was like, well, that's because
these settings.
okay, everybody, do what I do. Settings.
No,
It's just like, oh.
Hollywood is starting to reek of desperation. I saw a post from Kevin Bacon and Kyra Sedgwick over the weekend where they're like, we went to see Final Destination Bloodlines.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Go to the movies. Like there's a lot of that kind of stuff out there.
Yeah.
And it's really starting to like, oh guys, just wait. Okay, give it time, figure it some like what they don't seem to acknowledge is how the streaming has really eaten into the movie going, right? That's really the culprit here is all these awesome series on streaming is people would rather sit at home and watch those and go to the movies. And that's just the way it is now.
Well, we're paying lots for streaming. We all are, more than what we signed up for because it goes up more and more every year until it'll get to the point where people will cancel that stuff.
For cable,
I'm already
exactly the same thing that happened with cable, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I have on my list to do this summer is to reevaluate channels, streaming, all of it.
Hey.
All of it though. I might
we can talk about it. If you want to talk it on the podcast, feel free to.
Yeah, but after Squid Game, the last Squid Game on Netflix, I don't know that I need Netflix anymore.
That's a good point.
Like there's a few things like that where you just go, yeah, okay, it was a good run. You can always get it again,
right?
I suppose. So I don't know. I think everybody needs to think about this.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that, well, again, I cut my cable a long time ago, but I do reevaluate this every year when it gets nice outside and we can go outside. We really reevaluate the things we do when we spend time inside. And so that's what I do as well. I want to talk about, though, for the main topic of today's episode, I want to talk about AI. It's probably the most meaningful 2 letters in our current zeitgeist of everything that surrounds us. I can't think of anything else I hear more often than AI, Kenton.
It's too much talk about AI. It's exhausting.
Okay, well, let's try and get it all over our system, and then we won't touch it. Oh, so we're going to come back to it because it's changing everything, right? Of course, it's changing everything, and with change comes stress and fear and all kinds of different emotions. And we saw that we had our workplace, the college we did a couple of sessions in our professional development sessions in our team meetings last month to talk about AI, to basically say my takeaway from all those things was that it's here. We should be basically embrace this, figure out how we can use this to teach our students what we know how to do, and dive into it. And so I'm going to spend the summer diving into AI tools. I've already started using it more. I'm getting over the ick. That was the key part of that presentation I really took away, was that person who said you have to get over the ick of using it, and then you can find that you can use it for other things and it's okay. You feel okay about it. So yeah, I'm going to try and get over the ick.
Well, you can be using AI without even knowing you're using AI too.
Yeah, and every presentation starts with that. We've been using AI for years, right? There's that.
Yeah.
Start with that premise. Yes, Google Maps uses AI. All these things that we love, chatbots, all these things use AI. But the problem is it wasn't available to everybody before. That's the key difference here, right? Is that those things were like developed and then used for specific companies for specific reasons. Now they have things like ChatGPT where anybody and many, many more, which we saw in our presentations, that anybody can use for a low monthly cost to make all kinds of incredible things, right? That's been the key takeaway.
Right. And we had speakers and discussions and everything else on this topic. And I don't know, I'm not even sure if our college has a policy. They're coming up with one, I guess.
Right. Yes. And that's, but the thing is, like, we had previously not heard anything from the college on this. Like,
Right.
in my opinion, been very, it- not to their, like, they should have been on top of this a little bit more than they were, in my opinion. I think that like this was like a long time coming, is to get at least some direction to say yes, that's something we should be embracing. Because I always felt bad, like I didn't ever want to talk. I did have students using an AI tool, but the only reason I felt good about it is because it didn't have anything to do with writing. It was a sound tool that we can be used to
Right.
sound of a podcast. So that's the only reason I told them about it. And I feel good about it. I still feel good about that. But now I'm looking into AI tools for editing video, and it is a little bit different than the things like we've been talking about, where ChatGPT can write whatever document you would want it to write based on a prompt. This is doing something where I can take this podcast, for example, I can take the video for this podcast and plug it into and use a Premiere Pro, Adobe Premiere Pro extension. And I have one. I mean, I've on a free trial for one that it's not as good as I thought it was, but I've been using it a little bit. And basically, I can use it to edit this podcast, cut out all the awkward silences, cut out anything that I don't like. I can give it parameters for that, and basically can do my job for me, which is the thing I've been, basically this thing I've been doing is producing this podcast. Now I can do my job in seconds. Literally, I can watch it and it does it for me. So this is a different type of AI, in my opinion. This is like, it's not generative, it's performative, right? It will do something for you. I don't know. That's something to think about too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, last week we started to do this podcast before we before somebody abandoned it for us. I'm just kidding.
We
I'm
were
just
at
kidding.
school. We were at a conference. We tried to do it live at a conference. I heard
Right.
it was full of all kinds of other stuff, and we weren't really. I've listened back to the audio, and I didn't think we were kind of conveying what we wanted to say in those.
Well,
It'll be lost. It'll be a
yeah.
lost episode.
Yeah, and also I had a toothache and a shoulder ache, and today I only have a shoulder ache, so I'm like 50%
All
better.
right, good,
We
good.
can think about this. But one of the things we talked about also, and some like we said, I think last week, you're all in, and I know it's useful. I know it's here, and I know and I watched the Google presentation, which we can talk more about this week. So I know what's coming, and I know that it's going to change everything, just like the internet changed everything. You can see it coming. Where I hold back a little is number one, like when you're teaching at a college and you're dealing with students who are showing up unable to write. And so now they just type in prompts and someone else this thing does the writing. All right, so I'm not crazy about that. And the other thing I'm not crazy about is where AI, at least initially, got all of its information from. And once again, when you work in communications, AI doesn't think for itself. It uses the data from various sources, and that's why the New York Times is suing ChatGPT, like et cetera, et cetera.
I
And
understand.
so and I think, yeah, I was just gonna say that the Hard Fork podcast, I was like, where did I hear this? And then I remembered Hard Fork podcast said, it's AI is the fruit from a poison tree. And I like that metaphor in the sense that, yeah, like it's not all roses here. Like it's like, and even people who worked at ChatGPT like signed an open letter saying this this isn't just necessary. This could go in the wrong direction. This could be a dangerous technology.
Yeah.
And I think you need to know about all of this stuff at the same time. At the same time, you understand that this is the way things are. This is where it's headed for sure. At the same time, it never hurts to question the media that you use. Everything from radio to this, it's
Okay.
not a bad thing to question what you're taking in.
And those are all valid concerns. I absolutely get it. I get all those. The one that I balk at is the whole environmental concern, which
Right.
I think is just another thing that they kind of pile onto that. And I'm like, let's take care of the car problem first, people. That's a much greater environmental concern in my mind. As long as we're all driving down these little carbon factories, I know there's more electric cars out there than ever, but it's still not enough in my opinion. So I'm not going to worry about that. I don't drive, so I'm going to use AI. That's the trade-off for
Well,
me.
well, I mean, here's another example. Students get extremely agitated if you give them something on paper. They can hear the tree crying
Oh,
and
do they really?
screaming as they look. Oh, you should give it a shot. Give it a
I
shot.
haven't done it in a few years, actually. It's interesting. Okay.
I bring the print magazines that my family, that people give me for the purpose of cutting them into pieces for mood boarding. And and when students see them, they once again, first of all, is like, what's a magazine? Let's start. What's a magazine? So I'm like, that's not a bad thing for them to see what a magazine looks like, because it's not like, to somebody my age, not knowing what a magazine is like a shocking thing, but to a younger person, they really don't engage in that media. So I'll bring boxes of the magazines to class. And when they're done, so they'll clip out 100 pictures from these magazines. And then at the end of the class, they'll hand me this sad cutout thing and go, do you want this back? And I go, just throw it in the recycle bin. And they're like, huh, hmm, hmm. And they're and I'm like, it's recyclable. It's paper. Throw it in there. It's like, but even then, they're like, no. And I'm like, wait a sec. Do you guys charge your phones every day? Do you have a laptop that you
Mom
need
driving to
in all the?
school this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a battery in your laptop? Like, it's just like, we're all environmental hypocrites in one way or another. The other thing that the young people are happy to do, but that's really bad for the environment. And that's, I have a passion for travel. I have such a passion for travel. Oh yeah, you're polluting the environment, right? Like, the plane is maybe one of the worst things, but I just have a passion for travel.
Mhm.
Okay, like, so, I think we could explain it in economics by call internalities and externalities, but that's one of the things. And I'm with you on this AI thing. I think to call out AI in particular for its environmental stuff, please give me some data. Tell me
Oh yeah,
the
big
worst
time.
thing. Yeah, you know what I mean? Explain to me how this is the worst thing for the environment. I'm all ears. Like, let me know.
There was also a focus on AI at our conference, our annual conference, our employer holds, called Red Forum, which is for all the employees, all the instructors, all the staff, everyone who works at the college comes together for a day of learning, of meeting, and keynote speakers and sessions and workshops and stuff like that. And there was a huge focus on AI. There was a self-directed kind of information unit on AI that I did that was really just, it was the same kind of stuff that we went over in our sessions, but it was just for anybody who wanted to kind of learn about what AI is and how it works. There was also a keynote speaker in the afternoon. One of the big college people came up and gave a big speech about AI and the future of AI with the college. And then we went into the library and there was a lovely little display of all these cool little AI tools, right? That was a lot of fun. Somebody made me
Great.
guy made me look like Ryan Reynolds. I think that was kind of fun.
Yeah, that guy was great, but then your friend was there, and I just said before the podcast, this guy who's like, in not only embraces AI, but like tries out everything, like probably knows the coding. It seemed like this guy. And I brought him up at a meeting, and I said, like, it's one of those guys you talk to and you go, I'm dumb. When you're not talking to him because he knows so much about everything. I was like, oh my God, this guy knows this stuff. Like, I'm embarrassed even talking about it when I talked to this guy. But it was really good.
Yeah, he gave me good advice, and I took some notes
Yeah,
as far as the stuff he talked about. But again, it reinforced everything I believe, that it is here. People are using it, regardless of or not whether we want them to. People are going to use it to create the kind of content that we usually create, that we create in our professional lives, the kind of content
yeah.
we teach our students to create. So yeah, my job is now to take this content or take this tool of AI and figure out how it can help our students. The first thing that comes to mind is in script writing. Students are a little shaky in their writing when they come into our program. So to get them writing scripts right away, voiceover scripts is a bit tough. especially because it's a different type of writing than what they do in their other classes. So getting their heads around that is a bit of a problem. Like it's okay if you have this, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct if it sounds okay when it comes out. Like it depends on how you talk. So I'm going to allow, I'm going to encourage them to use it. So if you guys want to use it, first of all, it's great for outlining, in my opinion. Like if you want to say, create an outline for a video about, or a video essay about, or an audio essay about this topic, and it will, even if you don't like a lot of the stuff, it'll give you a lot of good stuff to work from, and you can jump off of that. But if they want to use it to write out a script, I'm going to say, go ahead, but I'm going to call you out. I'm going to point out specific examples. I'm going to do this summer so I can get actual screenshots and stuff that I can use and say, this is like an example of something I cut because I didn't like the way it was phrased. So look out for stuff like this, and let's see how you guys do. And I reserve the right to call out, like, this sounds like AI wrote it. You should have changed this, that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to penalize them for using AI. I'm going to encourage them to use it for this kind of stuff, because the ultimate product isn't the written script, it's their voice, right? They're reading the script out loud into a microphone. So ultimately they just want this to sound like them. So my question to them is, does this sound like something you would say? And if not, then change it. Right? That's basically
Yeah.
the thing. And so AI can help me in that. I think it'll get them further along faster, and it'll make their products sound better, I think, than they currently do.
Every communicator needs practice in writing in their own voice. And here's a good example. I have a relative. I have young relatives, and let's disguise. Let's not. I won't be too specific here. I have many young relatives, young people,
I do as well.
and one of these young people's writing made the rounds by email with the subject line "so and so finds pronoun writing voice." Okay. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to read it. And I open it up and I was like, oh my, it was like one of the worst written, like it was bad. But bad in the same way that I will put forth that most young people's writing is, right? Like
Can you
in
give,
the
without getting into specifics, can you give me some generalities? Like, what kinds of things do you see in that kind of writing?
spelling, grammar, punctuation, writing so that the presentation looks readable. So the presentation is readable. And if you're dealing with reading things out loud, I like one of the first thing I get them to do, because it's quick, is write a 30-second audio script. Because it's quick. It introduces you to the language of advertising, like what's hacky, what isn't hacky. So it's good. It's good for that purpose. But that's when you realize that nobody has any practice writing for something that's going to be read out loud. And do I need to do this? How do I explain this in the script? How do I explain that? I'm like, you don't explain anything. You explain nothing. You write the script. Your script has to have that. Like that's part of what a script does. Like if you have like tons of description on the left side of the page, the person reading it isn't gonna like. It's too much. You're trying to exert too much control over your actor, whose job it is to make this thing come to life. So it's like it's the classic thing. I need, you understand the language, the format, what you're writing, the medium that you're writing for. It's like it's always the same. Now, when you type that into AI, and I did that, the first writing assignment that I give them, I typed it into AI. And I won't say what prompt I used, but I used a generic prompt on purpose. I used a prompt I'd use if I was a first-year student. Let's put it that way. And what I got was average. And I looked at it, and I thought, yeah, like the humanity that they need to inject in it, they will still need to inject. I still don't think I'm going to get any. I need real brainstorming. I don't want AI brainstorming, I don't think, or even Google brainstorming. Don't want that. I want what students write to be some of their experiences. But the verbs that the AI used were kind of passive voice. There's things like that. And so I thought the first thing we'll do is we'll critique what AI wrote. And to get them off of it, hey, all right, great. You could have an ad that I would give a C by using AI, or that the client would probably give a C, because it's just so average.
Right.
That's where you come in and you make it exciting and new.
You're saying students need to learn how to write in their own voice first before they can alter what AI writes to be in their own voice as well.
I believe that that's true, but I also believe, like yesterday, I saw the most depressing article ever in in the Guardian. Gen Z or Z parents
Guardian
don't. Okay, Gen Z parents don't like reading to their children before bedtime. Quote, "It's so boring." That's what the Gen Z parents are saying.
Gen Z,
Gen Z.
Gen Z, they're having kids already. Is we're already at that stage?
I believe so. I guess the oldest among them. But it's so boring. It is so boring. That's the problem. It's so boring. If the parents find reading like school age kids or baby stuff, if they find that boring, what are their kids gonna be like?
Yeah.
That was in the Guardian, by the way. Just Google "it's so boring" in quotations, and that article will come up.
Okay.
But I do think, so if students aren't at a basic writing ability and they never read anything, and many don't, let's be honest. And I'm not even talking about books. I'm even talking about free online content. It's very rare that anybody gets past a headline, I would say, or like the first line of a social media post. Like there is not deep reading going on in I'm not many, I don't even know, but like not everyone, of course, but in many. So that's a huge steep hill that you have to climb to get where you need to be as a communications professional. So that's where the problem comes in. How much are we willing to use AI as a crutch, and how much are we not?
Exactly. And
I think that's a
good way to put it to students. I think they'll understand that. They'll understand that if they turn upon it too much, it's gonna make their work worse. What I've been trying to do is try and think of ways I can use it that can change the way I do things. And I've got an example, actually. This happened today, and this is kind of an example of how this can replace Google. And I think a lot of students are using it to replace Google in a lot of different ways. Punch a question, and now because ChatGPT also has search capabilities, it didn't used to, but now it can search the internet for you. And so what happened is I found this article, and this just comes up from my Google feed. And this is more about the state of news media, but this article comes up in my Google feed based on stuff I look at in my news and stuff like that. But it's published by mltakins.com. So it's like an internal article about a new law in Manitoba that voids property controls for grocery stores. Did you hear about this, Kenton?
That avoids no. Say that again.
Well, here I'll read you the. It's really poorly written. The point is this article is not very well written, but it says new law avoids property controls for grocery stores and supermarkets in Manitoba. So it's about like how grocery stores have secret deals to kind of keep each other. Oh, we'll handle this part, you handle that part, so we don't like compete with each other, that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's now they say that's part of the reason why grocery prices are so high. So we're getting rid of that. I don't think it's going to work, but that's a different issue. That's not the reason why grocery prices are so, in my opinion, maybe one of them. So that is the law, and that is so this article. So, but I wanted to like find out, okay, well, what does that mean? Is this going to mean grocery prices are going to come out down? But this is like the worst. Like, I'll just start you off with the way this is written. This was probably written by AI. Bill 31, comma, the Property Controls for Grocery Stores and Supermarkets Act, parentheses, various acts amendment, parentheses, received royal assent on June 3rd, comma, 2025, imposing a ban on restrictive covenants and exclusivity clauses that will restrict competition in the grocery sector in Manitoba. What are you saying? I have no idea what that says. So I took one look at that and I scrolled past a bunch of bad ads and I saw this is gibberish to me. And so let me punch this into ChatGPT and see what it gives me. And so I did that, and it gave me a great summary. I said, please rephrase this information in easy to understand terminology, give key points in a summary. And it did that. It gave me key points, and it immediately says, the law makes most exclusive clauses and restrictive covenants that prevent other grocery stores from opening illegal. That means you can't block competitors from moving into nearby spaces or land. And it cites sources, Kenton. It tells me, it says, PhilMO'Reilly.com and the government. So it's not even the original source of the thing. It goes to other sources and it shows you where you got it from. Later on down the feed, it refers me to the Winnipeg Free Press story about it, and then another article on the government website. So it's citing its sources, Kenton, and I can click through and read that Winnipeg Free Press article if I want to, which would argue is a good thing for Like this is better than Google for news outlets in that way, wouldn't you say?
Well, yes, and there's also the advertise. Although, hey, let's be honest, this is going to be riddled with ads a year from now, if not earlier. So, and I think it could suffer from the same problem as Google, which is sponsored, 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 sponsored. Here's the thing I want.
Yeah.
And it's that's about, but it's $1 trillion in Google's pocket, which means the pressure will be on AI to deliver to make the same money or cut into Google's profits by doing the same thing. It's bound to happen. And even Google's AI overview is now, you can now buy, you can now have sponsored.
The other fact that came out of our sessions that I found really interesting that is that search is down. Google search is down tremendously, like 70% year over year because of AI, because of Google. And we talked about this on our podcast, right? You can go back. I'll probably link the episode below. You can go back and we said this is going to kill search because their Gemini. And they don't get it every time, but I do get it quite often. And yes, it usually stops at that point. Whatever information I'm looking for, it will give me in that AI summary, so I don't have to click through to the website. So as a result, people do not click through, and all that infrastructure, all that work put towards search engine optimization and charging by click-through rates and all these things that we put in place mean nothing because nobody clicks through. So nobody makes money on their content, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, this might be a good time for me to say, okay, so I watched the global keynote.
Let's hear about
25.
the
And hang on 1 second. Let me just go. I have some notes over here that I'm just going to grab.
Sure. Give me some.
Okay. Okay. So, and anybody you can look up this on YouTube. So, sorry, Global Keynote 20, Global. Oh, sure. Global Keynote 2025. And first of all, it's some of the most awkward presentations you've ever seen. It makes the Apple one look like, it makes them look like they're born to act.
Oh, we just
like so the level of bad jokes and laughing at your own jokes into the mic, it's unprecedented in this presentation. So once you get past that, though, I think I'm going to show this to my students when we do Google Ads, because I think, once again, here's the weird place we're in. On one hand, it's really good to understand how that works. In the same way, it's good to understand, like, if people are asking AI questions about your business, then and they're getting the wrong answer in AI, then you need to understand, what do I need to do to make sure AI has the right answer about my business? So it's not dissimilar. But they say, so now everything is AI powered campaigns. So they go, okay, it's going to be Performance Max, which is once again like a Google campaign where you buy ads across the scope of Google services. And then AI Max search campaigns, which is machine learning, and then something they call demand gen. And keywordless targeting. It understands intent, not just words. And so like that's how they roll it out. But then they show how someone will buy a Google Ads campaign now, and it's crazy because, and the part where I went, well, we're screwed, was what's the part where, so now you don't need keywords. You just need, it'll do the intent for you, which is that's always been the golden chalice of SEO, which is intent. Like, what do people mean when they type things? Okay, so now it'll do the intent for you. And then when you want your creative, it will do it for you. Like, you don't need to hire somebody to do the creative anymore. It'll just put it together, and it'll put it together across the suite of services, including YouTube. So it'll all be done. It'll all be machine generated. You will not need to upload your creative anymore. You won't need to, I mean, it's already at the point where you don't need to write your headlines, right? Although they are kind of crappy. You don't write them yourself.
there's a lot of crappy headlines out there. Like, honestly, what we're talking about here, we would all love to have the best work, but we're talking about work that is good enough to be, it's just good enough. That's all they're looking for, something that works, and people's bars are plenty low for this kind of work. So that's where it's gonna, and it's gonna degrade. But of course, every movie about the future has predicted that. Isn't that what Idiocracy is about. It's the dumbing down of society. I hate that movie, but I think it might be right in that way.
I love that movie. Most immediate threat here, and I brought it up when to our guest speakers because I think what's the most expensive part of doing creative, and it's video production. It's so expensive, and it requires a team and planning, and depending on the idea, and deep pockets, and it's just it's so complicated and so expensive. And here's this thing that can generate anything you can imagine. You type it in, it'll generate that thing, and you'll see it happen before your very eyes. And Google does a demonstration of that in the presentation. And I think, yeah, for most clients, like the only reason you would now get a video crew is because you're Canadian footwear and you want the owner in the ad, or you're
And I mean, that will stick around for a while, Kenton. Like there still will be about maybe.
I don't think so. I think it's going to go faster.
Yeah.
But after this presentation, I was like, why? Why would you? You mean I could get this for free if I buy some Google ads? Or I can pay a video team $100,000 over the course of a month to get all the shots I need. I can't see. I don't. I think local advertisers will be so happy to have something that saves them all that money.
Yes, I agree. But I think those are all going to be crappy looking ads, and they will fall into the lower tier. Like they're not going to look great. They're going to go be as cheap as possible, right? So
The AI ads?
yeah.
No, you got to watch that Google. You got to watch that Google.
Well, but that's high level stuff. That's Google putting
No.
all their resources into it, right? Like, what about somebody who just wants the base level of stuff? What do you get?
Well, I signed up for Paramount Plus's platform. And all I did was put in kentonlarson.com, and it created a 30-second video ad for kentonlarson.com, and it wrote the script, it found the images, and did the voiceover, and it was good. It wasn't amazing. There's still stuff that I wouldn't put in an ad, but it was good. And that's now. So like 6 months from now, I can just have an AI generated campaign and it can run on Paramount Plus tomorrow. Like that, it eliminate, like, media buyers are already dead.
Yeah, no, that's fun.
So, this is just another nail in that coffin. And then I think when I see this, I just think I just don't see why anybody would shell out the money. I don't know.
Interesting.
But as I said, when I was done watching it, I said, we're all screwed. I said it out loud. We're all screwed. Oh, well.
Career.
Thank God I'm close to retirement. Thank God. Because everybody else is screwed. Anyone younger than me,
Thanks.
enjoy your career. But you know what? I think it's all creative industries. All creative industries.
No, but it's more than that. It is more than that because it is. I heard one talk. It was the guy's like, it's literally anything that can happen on a computer. So it really
Right.
can be anything. They just haven't thought of it. And that's what I mean. Is the video editing stuff is a lot different than the generative stuff because it is taking your product and then shaping it in the way you want it to be shaped. So it's a little more like I'm giving you the raw footage of this thing. So I was still in control of recording it. And there's still going to be that to some degree, like as far as like we're still going to be talking on a podcast. Are we, or was somebody like, I mean, you can create a podcast based on text like that. We saw that actually. Someone showed us that. Here's how you can take a really long and complicated, and it creates like a conversational podcast. What was that one? I remember I wrote it down.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like, yeah, it could take like a really long, complicated document and creates a conversational podcast that explains what the document is. That's powerful stuff, right? But do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
do you think this is going to make people question media and say, "Is this real or is it high, or is it just going to all blend together and people aren't going to care?"
Well, when anybody could report the news, a couple things happened. People believed a bunch of bullshit that they never would have believed before, and many other people just ignore it altogether. They just think it's noise. So I think that's what'll likely happen, and I think with politics is the place we will see this happen first, where we don't know if we can believe what we're seeing. And it'll go from there. But I do think like Sora, the video generation AI, puts a little watermark in the corner, but you can edit that out
You can
so easily.
yeah, that's like a thing they put on there.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think, I don't know, the regulators have sort of dropped the ball on all of this.
Yeah. Well, including like again, I said this came late from our college. My mom works in the provincial government. They're just starting to get this immediately
Yeah.
talking about AI in the provincial. She works in the education department of the provincial government, so they are like they're just starting to look at this now.
Yeah.
A lot of people are behind the ball on it because it's happening so quickly, and they're not used to things changing this quickly. Like
Yeah.
this is faster than the internet. It's faster than anything else. The internet still took a good decade before it really got its legs under it, right? As far as like from the early 90s to the early 2000s, that's really when it really picked up. And I think this is going so much faster than that. It's only been 2 years or 3 years. Was it 2022? So it's not even been 3 years yet
Yeah.
since
No. And I think Ad Standards Canada has got a pretty good influencer marketing set of guidelines for Canada. Like, I show it to the students. I'm like, that's really good. It has not done one for AI in advertising, because I think it's so new. And also, depends how you use AI in advertising, which is a very complicated also set of, I don't know. I don't know how you'd write guidelines for that, but I imagine that as it it probably falls under the existing guidelines about you can't be deceptive, misleading, or false. What is false? That's a good, interesting question. What is false if you're using AI? Like, if the person in the ad isn't real but looks real, and you're presenting them as a real person, that might, I think under those guidelines you might have a problem. But who knows? Who knows how it's likely to change? But I mean, there should be some agreed upon, though I don't think there will be,
No.
some agreed upon way to mark something as AI.
Yeah, there's I think they're going to try and legislate that, as you say, but and I see a lot of things that say no AI. Like one of our colleagues told us CBC has a strict anti-AI policy, so they're just not going to engage in it. They're just going to write everything as they always have, and I get that, right? They want to be like a have integrity.
How would CBC know? So an advertiser does, we're going to do our own creative. I'm an advertiser and I'm going to buy time only on CBC. What is CBC going to do to ensure that me, the advertiser, that I don't use AI in the production of my ad? They can't.
You know what? You're absolutely right, and I'm going to keep an eye out. Honestly, when I watch stuff on CBC during the 3 ads that they show me 10 times during, holy shit, we watched I did my Carol, we watched Little Women, the newer Greta Gerwig's Little Women, which is an excellent movie. And it was the only available on Gem. So my girlfriend and I watched it on Gem, and there was like 10 commercial breaks in there. I'm like, what are they basing this on? And every break was the exact same 3 ads or 4 ads or whatever it is. And I'm going to keep an eye out for AI, because if they're using AI, they're being completely hypocritical. But they'll say, oh, it's just the news department. We don't control everything else. But hypocritical.
I watched, I'm with you. I watched, what the hell did I watch? It was really good. Can't remember. Anyway, and they kept showing the ad for Saint Pierre on CBC. Saint Pierre.
They're all internal ads as well. That's the other thing.
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah. Just over and over and over with some of
one Paris ad and the rest are internal.
Yes. Oh my God. And the acting, like Canadian acting is its own has its own flavor. And these ads are just full of Canadian acting. Like the bad guy like literally twirls his mustache kind of thing. But yeah, so that's rough.
So one,
I don't know. Yeah. So once again, I don't know how CBC can say we're AI free. The other thing is the classic journalist, like we've always had the plagiarizing journalist.
Oh, sure.
That's a well-known, like everybody's had that. The New York Times has had that multiple times. How are you going to stop that typology from using AI, even though you've banned it? How are you going to recognize it?
Well, that's why we have to teach that integrity to our students, Kenton, don't you know? But to teach them integrity. And we have to teach them taste, apparently. That's something that also came up, and I don't know how we do that. But
develop taste.
Well, yeah. Anyway, taste is relative, I think. A taste is not the same for everybody. I do want to talk about something I've done is as I was curious, and when you look at I'm sure you see this a lot as somebody who posts all our jobs on a weekly basis, but there have been a lot of ads in job sites for people to prompt AI. AI companies are looking for people. They're hiring people to check the output and check and basically train these AI models on different things. And so you have one for like biology, math, different sciences. There's ones for customer service. I saw one for it looked like it was for like ad copywriting or something along those lines. I can't remember now. Should have written it down. But along like the kind of stuff that we would do in our program. And so I signed up. I'm like, let's check this out and see what it is. So I did one for Outlier. The two companies are Outlier and Data Annotation. Outlier, I signed up, but I think I missed the boat on all the general stuff because there's nothing. I'm just a generalist. I'm an expert. I have great like a good writing skills. I can proofread and all that stuff, but I don't have any expertise in like math or science or anything like that right now. So there's nothing in my specific field of professional writing, which is what I've identified myself as, that will get me any projects yet. But as I'm signed up there, I can use their little playground, their AI playground, which has access to all these like paid models, all the kind of upgraded models that you don't get, the upgraded ChatGPT and all these other ones that are you can try them all out. If you really want to try something out, you can sign up for this. The whole thing is about maybe 45 minutes to take the test, and then you're kind of signed up. And so it just gives you a sense of like the kind of stuff you have to do to train these AI. So it is stuff like it gives you two responses. It asks you if there's any misleading information or false information. You can Google things to double check. Like you can check, like, I don't know when where Taylor Swift was born, but I did know it did. One of them tried to tell me that she was Canadian, and I knew she wasn't Canadian. But it's that kind of stuff. It's like this, like common things you think people would ask, and here's two prompts, and tell them which one is the better one and why, and explain yourself and that kind of stuff. So it's about like 20 questions like that. And so I did that again for data annotation, and I'm waiting to hear back on data annotation for their next thing. But basically, if I through, then I will get to do this, and the different things will come up, different professions, expertise, or whatever, different types of things. So I'm gonna just see what it's like. I'm just gonna try it out. I'll report back.
No, good. I've seen that data annotation, however you say it. And I saw one today that's looking for Ukrainian AI writers.
A lot of foreign languages. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Train it in all the languages of the world. So if you can speak another language fluently, you could also sign up to do this. And you don't make a lot of money. Like, and it really is on your own time. Like it said 45 minutes for that thing, but I did it over the course of like several days because it saves your place and stuff. So you really don't have to like worry about it too much. So we'll see. I don't know how much time I'll spend doing it, but you make like $20 an hour doing just the basic one. So that's it's more than some of our students make out of college. I saw a job recently that was offering less than that for whatever.
Oh no, like there's a lot of the Young Canada Works jobs are usually in the $17 range.
Yeah, that's all the money they get for the.
Well, yeah, and that's also classic. Welcome to your summer job, kids.
Mm-hmm.
Your first summer job. But that's the other and that's another issue, which is like I said at our meeting at school, I said when I was working at CIBC, they were like back in the day when I was in university, they're like, teach people how bank machines work, everybody. Okay. And to every person who came in, you'd walk them over to the bank machine and go like, here you go, Myrtle, like every old person, because they were afraid to use it. So you put the card in, you help them choose the PIN code. Okay, I'm looking away, type in 4 numbers, and they probably all go 1111. That's probably what they all did. And then they withdrew some money or something just to see how it worked. And then ultimately, it turned out the hole that we were digging was our own graves because that was by the end of that, of course, like CIBC Polo Park had, I don't know, like 50 tellers, often like an incredible number of tellers working like a huge branch kind of thing. And now I'll bet it's like that branch doesn't exist, but it's now a separate thing, a separate building. And my guess is they probably have 3 tellers now, just like for the few people who come in to do their banking.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look at ChatGPT, I can't help but think, or just AI in general, like this is just going to be what everybody now like does, whatever their job is. This is going to be like just another thing that everybody does. So I do wonder about it. Part of me thinks we're screwed, as I said, and part of me thinks I don't know. We don't know yet what this is going to look like. I'm willing to at this point to say, man, media, that broadcast industry, holy shit, the guys who used to get jobs because they had the expensive cameras, no, like that's got to be gone.
Oh yeah,
But
that's
I'm not sure about, I don't know about the rest. I don't know.
well.
What's an ad agency going to do with this? I don't know.
Right. What makes me you just made me think of this. Like we didn't really question Google when it started. We just kind of accepted it,
No.
started using it. But it's not like we were like, no, there was a little. We talked actually in one of our conversations about the bad thoughts about bad attitudes about Wikipedia. When I was in
Yeah.
school, they taught us not to base everything. Like they were like, watch out, it's
Right.
not a first or whatever. Wikipedia is not a good source, but it's actually a pretty good source. It certainly is it is one of many sources you can use. And the point is really to get more than one source. That's what you want to do for any type of story. But now it's like, but Google, it was like you can Google whatever you want and we just accept what it gives us. But now people are questioning this way more than we questioned Google. We just accepted Google was here like that, and we just started using it, no problem. And nobody said, "Would you Google that? We can't go to the library and research things on your own." No, nobody said that.
But I also think I think part of the reason this is getting kicked in the ass so hard is because we've also seen what social media did to the kids and also did to the kids and what Google ultimately became, which is much less useful than it was when it only gave you search results. That it was very useful. And now that the first 10 hits are ads oftentimes, um you see that like and that Google has experimented over and over with where to put the ads and like changes it so people don't know what they are. And I think because of all of that, because we have seen businesses that just like we saw a president get inaugurated, and we saw Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and and Tim Cook looking as sad as he looked to be there, he was there. And we've sort of seen how they're willing to, like, it's business at all costs is what we see. And I think the concern, so now AI shows up and now we're like, oh, this is just like a hyper fueled version of the thing we've already seen, and which has been bad, and which has led, like, we've gone from no one having any outward mental health concerns to 1/3 probably of students having them. And it's like, whoa, what's new? Oh, Instagram. That was new. That's what they grew up with. Like, so there's all this evidence now of things like that. And I think that's why people are reasonably skeptical about new technology making things easier. At what's the cost to that? I think,
And
and I
also,
think good that they're asking.
yeah, it's also I think reducing people's entire careers to a matter of minutes or seconds, and that
Yeah.
doesn't feel good for a lot of people, right? You spend your entire life honing your craft, becoming really, really good at one thing, and then AI can just do it in a matter of seconds, and that makes you feel like, what's the point of any of this?
Yeah.
Right? Well, you did that thing for that long. That was the point of it. And now there's a tool that can help you do it better. Like that's how I have to view this. This is a tool that can just help me make better content, teach my students better. Again, I think it will result in me getting better assignments from them, and I think that they will, if they're nothing else, they will have at least some experience using it a bit more. And what we learned, another thing we learned, I mean, is that students have been using it, but they're feeling bad about it because they think they're not supposed to use it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to change that in my classes and encourage them to use it. I'm going to say you should identify when you use it, so I know. Like, I'm not going to penalize you, and I'm just curious. But we'll see how that goes. I'll wait and see if I do that.
Yeah, I'm not in the first semester. I'm going to, because once again, your brain needs to be the generator of the creative and advertising. It just, for now,
I'm
you
not,
need a brain.
I'm not really. I'm telling them to pick a topic that I have to approve.
Yeah.
They have to research and create a script
Right.
on that topic. It's a little bit of a different thing. So
Yeah, research is a different thing. Yeah, and you can actually get ChatGPT to give you the sources if you ask.
right, that's what I'm saying. Like say,
Right.
write me a voiceover script about this thing. It includes this, this, and this. Like they're gonna have to do some preliminary research themselves just to figure out what they want it to be about, right? But after that, let's let ChatGPT have at it with the script. Let's see how it sounds. Read it out loud. Learn what you like and you don't like about what you're saying, and let's give it a shot and see what happens.
there's a public relations research assignment, and I don't teach public relations this year. I've taught it in the past. And when I saw what AI does for giving you sources and generating, showing you where it got the stuff, I said that assignment needs to go. I think that, but nobody agrees with me, of course. But
I
what is the point? Then what are we that like to me, typing that in and being having it generated for you, that's not the point. That's not the point of a research assignment unless the research assignment is to show you how AI works, in which case it's great. But if that's not it, then and once again, maybe librarians, have we put librarians out of business? Maybe, I don't know.
our city
But
seems to think so. That my library is open some horrible hours. I could never go there
yeah.
and it's closed. So yeah, it is not. That's also good.
Yeah. And I once again, I don't want I want our students to read a damn book. Just read a book,
Wait,
everybody.
you know what?
And
Go ahead.
nah, I just, that will help you more than coming to my class, right? Like sitting and focusing on reading. That'll help you with so many things in your life.
Yes.
And it'll also reduce feelings of anxiety. Reading is the ultimate calmer.
It is. And
No?
I've been doing a lot more lately. I've been
Yeah.
experiencing anxiety a lot more in the last few months. And I've been making an effort to read more. I read on the bus a lot. Like I said, I don't
Yeah.
drive, so I read on the bus. I have times to read in the morning and the afternoon and try to set time aside to read, which leads into this week's media recommendations. I'm going to recommend a book to you, Kenton.
Hey,
And it's actually, and I can tell you, we can get there through media because this is a book series really that it has been adapted into media, and there's a lot of course, book to film adaptations. This is a book to series adaptation from a Apple TV series that I absolutely loved. I'm talking, of course, about Slow Horses. This
yeah.
is, have you read this?
I have not read it. I've watched everything except the most recent season.
Okay, yeah,
So
you're saving for the next time you subscribe to Apple TV, right?
exactly.
That's right. And so this is one of those shows, and that's the model, by the way, for Apple TV Plus, is like wait until you've got a couple of like shows you like to watch, and then you can like have it subscribe to it for a month and watch them all. So this is
Yeah.
definitely one of those shows for me. I will come back for Slow Horses season 5. I think they've got
Yeah.
4 seasons so far. I've watched all 4 seasons. Every season is a book. So this is the story of the first season. And Kenton, I got to tell you, I've got lots to keep me busy till season 5 because I have the entire series uh as a books. My girlfriend gave me this for my birthday. So these are 8 books in this series by Mick Herron. It's like British spy novel stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, great.
And it is an incredible, I'll say this about the Apple TV series, is an incredible adaptation. This feels like I read this and it feels like I'm watching, maybe because I watched the series first, but it's Gary
Yeah.
Oldman in here. It's like the same character from the show in this book, and they just captured it so perfectly. This was the first thing, right? This is the source material, but they did an incredible
Fantastic.
job adapting that into the series. It's a really, really good series. So Slow Horses, there you go, kids. Something to read over the summer holidays. And
I love it.
I'm gonna work my way. I'm like almost done this one. I'm gonna work my way through the entire series. There you go. What do you got?
Excellent. Well, after I said I was going to cancel Netflix, why don't I give you a Netflix recommendation? Because I started watching, there's a Norwegian show called Pernille. Once again, it's a woman's name, and I hear it 100 times in the show, and then I try to say it, and it comes out wrong. But just to add to the confusion, her name in Norwegian is spelled P-O with a cross through it, R-N-I, which is porny. So I can see why they changed why why that, what don't Google that, by the way. Pernille.
Yeah.
Pernille, I believe. And it is they're only 30 minutes long each episode. It's 5 seasons. I scooted through 2 seasons in rapid succession because it is just like once again, like on Norwegians, the Danes, the like Sweden, like some of those shows that they do are just so good. And this is one of them. This is about a woman who works in Norway for child and the child and family services of Norway, but has also got a family that is hard to manage and hard to handle, and an ex-husband, and maybe some odd romantic entanglements going on at the same time. But ultimately, the show has a lot of heart And as I say, like I did 2 seasons without even in a blink of an eye. 2 seasons flew by. And I was like, how do people even know this exists? And I can't remember where I heard about it, but then after I Googled it, I saw the New York Times wrote a rave review for it maybe a year ago, I think. So it's out there. It's like people knew this existed, but I just discovered it now. So I'm gonna give that one a big recommendation. It's lovely. I don't know where it ends, but I'm really enjoying it.
I love what I love is the languages. Like it's so beautiful. The Norwegian language in particular. I really enjoyed that Ragnarok show that was also Norwegian.
Yeah.
And some
And I love it. Every once in a while they speak English and it's just like, whoa, like it knocks you on your butt because you're like, I didn't know that person could speak it. Like it's part of the language.
Yeah.
They'll say like blah blah blah, get off your butt or something like that, and you'll go, whoa, and you go, holy. Like that's what that person would sound like if they spoke English. It's a very odd, but it's cool when it happens.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, excellent. I will check that out for sure. That's going to do it for this episode of the Media Nerds podcast. I'm Dan Vanderbanker.
And I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the door hit you on the ass.